right, good afternoon, everyone. How are we? We're going to be bold and start a minute early. So, my name is Christy Katchy. I see a few familiar faces here in the group. This is my good friend and colleague, Lisa Santel, and we're going to play a little bit of violin and viola music for you today, a short program for you. We're going to start with a duet by a gentleman named Jean-Marie Leclair. He's a French composer of the Baroque era, born in, 1697 and died in 1764.
Thank you.
Now the violin hasn't changed much since about 1550. It's looked this way, it has sounded this way, it has played this way since about then. The technique of the violin, though, has changed dramatically. It's gotten much harder. So Mr. Leclair was one of the people, one of the composers that pushed the development of violin technique forward. So he's important to us for that. And we're going to play for you one of our favorite pieces. It's a sonata in E minor for 2 violins. It has 3 movements: allegro ma poco, gavotte, which is a type of dance, and a presto. So here we go. What's that? We like that. Oops, this is the wrong music. That won't work. All right, our next composer needs hardly any introduction. Almost everyone has heard of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, right? Yes, lots of heads shaking up and down, yes. The piece that we're going to play now is actually not a piece that was written for two violins. It was written for a piano. It was a piano sonata that was published in 1798, which was actually after, I'm sorry, the piano sonata, wait a minute, I can't read my notes. 1777, pardon me, the piano sonata. The violin duets, who were arranged by someone we don't know who, were after Mozart had died in 1798. I hope that's not too confusing. I confused myself, so. This also has three movements: an allegro con spirito, andante con espressione, and a rondo allegro. A rondo is also a dance, like the gavotte in the prior work. So, here we go. Mr. Mozart.
switch instruments here and pick up our violas. Viola has been used in the string world since the 18th century. And you're probably more familiar with the violin and the cello, but the viola goes in the middle of those two as a voice. If you think of the violin as the soprano and the cello as the tenor and the bass as the bass, this is your alto instrument. You'll see it's bigger, it's thicker. It has a lower sound to it. So a violin has three of the same strings, except that a violin has those three strings and a higher E string, whereas this has those three strings and a lower C string. If you're familiar with the staff, if this is the treble clef and this is the bass clef, then just in between those is middle C, is it not? So the alto clef, which is what the viola uses, one of the things that makes it special, the alto clef uses that middle C as the middle line. So we are actually using a completely different clef when we're playing the viola. So we wanted to bring this as part of, for some reason, violinists are expected to be able to play viola.
Yeah.
So we don't claim to be violists. However.
No, we're definitely violinists in sheep's clothing. That's makes it wrong mixing.
So the first thing we'll be playing for you is from Mr. Telemann, who bridged the gap, was one of those that bridged the gap for us from the Baroque period and the Classical period. So his lifespan was 1681 to 1767. And because he was in that place in time, he was he knew Handel, and he was friends with Bach. In fact, Bach asked him to be the godfather of one of his children. So same time period. The piece we're going to play for you today is one of his canonic sonatas, which are some of our favorites. Canonic meaning, you might remember from general music, elementary school, your teacher might have asked you to start singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And a moment later, someone else started singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat, and you're singing it at the same time, yes? So a canon, that is a very easy way of saying around. So we call it in classical music a canon. So for instance, in the first movement, she'll start, and 3 minutes later, I will begin playing the exact same thing that she is playing. So that's how this works. There are 3 movements to this particular piece. I love what they're called. The first one is vivace ma moderato, which is lively, but moderately. Don't get carried away. The second movement is piacevole, non largo. So graceful and pleasant, but not too slow or broad. The third movement is a presto, which means very fast. So we have lots of instruction on these 3 movements of Sonata number 4 from Telemann. Good? Okay.
ahead when we get to the end, when we're supposed to. Together, I should say. In these. Ready?
Our second viola piece is very different. This comes from a modern composer named Jeremy Cohen. He was classically trained as a violinist. In fact, he was a pupil of Itzhak Perlman. Did you know that?
I did know that.
So he took all of that classical training and technique, and he applied it to bringing us very eclectic music in multiple styles. So jazz and tango and swing and blues in such fun arrangements, and even touching back to his classical roots, one of his pieces is called Scratch My Bach. So very, very fun. So from Mr. Cohen, we bring you the Swingin' Thingamajig.
No, just start from the 1, 2, 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Switch them out.
Back to treble clef.
Yes.
It's
yes.
a little bit of a brain.
Our friend treble clef. Well, usually. All right, so since we're so close to St. Patty's Day, we decided that we would do a little bit of Celtic music to end our program today. And we have 3 pieces. Give Me Your Hand, which is a traditional Irish waltz. And next, after that, we'll have Miss MacLeod's Reel, which is a Scottish traditional tune. And the last one, I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but you can all sing along. So, in tune.
Feel like singing.
Take yours.
It's a nice warm day,
So the
so
room is changing everything.
wooden instruments.
Good. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't that pretty? Imagine dancing to that, right? There we go. Right. Thank you. Good you said that. 2, 1, and 2. wonderful audience. Maybe we could come back again sometime. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much.